The Reapers had finally made it to the hideout. One crewmate hopped onto the island and started looking for me, which was my cue. I shot up and quickly grabbed the keg, jumped into the water, and then What are you doing? You're not supposed to be at this part of the video yet. Let's go back for a second. You see, I just spawned fresh into a new server and saw that there was a level 5 Reaper boat on the server. I quickly loaded up my boat, I raised anchor and lowered my sail as soon as I could because I couldn't wait any longer for the precious loot that might be waiting for me. Hands sweaty, I finally approached my target. I was ready. But to my dismay, they made a surprise move. A move that most pirates would classify as a rejected fighting technique. The enemy lowered their sail, realigned themselves, and booked it the opposite way. They're Reaper runners. See, Reaper runners are one of the worst crews in my opinion because the Reaper faction is meant for PvP. A little bit of history here. Before emissaries were added to the game, there was only one way that a boat could communicate to the whole server that they were strictly looking for PvP, and that was the Reaper flag. You equip this flag to your ship, and the whole server would be able to see your ship marked on the map so they knew that if they wanted some PvP action to come to you.
Are you challenging me?
This all changed when emissaries were added to the Sea of Thieves. When they were added, people found out that Reapers gave you extra gold for any piece of loot, regardless whether it was a chest, a skull, whatever. People who strictly PvE found this out and decided to throw up the Reaper emissary, and whenever danger reared its ugly head, they just run and continue running for hours on end to keep their loot safe. This is when they were given the name Reaper Runners. But to argue, everyone has their own fun way to play Sea of Thieves, and neither one's wrong. This is what Rare intended for the game to be. If you want to run Reapers, only for the sole purpose of getting the extra gold, go for it. At the end of the day, Sea of Thieves is not going to change how you live your life. Heck, I run from fights before. If I know that I'm not going to win a fight, I'll face the other direction and not look back. But to go back to the original point, everyone's trying to earn some extra gold and skill, like me. But after a couple minutes of chasing them and not being able to capture them, I know there's something else that needs to be done. I didn't have a lot of time on my hands since I knew after this I was going to be busy having existential dread on my kitchen floor. Right then and there, I hatched a plan to sink those Reapers without having to get anywhere close to the backside of their boat. Step 1, find the nearest unactivated skeleton fort and load up on however many kegs I could comfortably fit on my boat. The more the better, but I also didn't want to get hit by a sandbank and be blown to kingdom come. Step 2 was to sail back to the Reapers' hideout. I knew that after my encounter with them earlier, that they would be spooked enough to run back to Reapers and sell all their stuff before another boat rolled up on them. This meant that I was on the clock to be able to set up my trap before they came back. Once I finally got to the Reapers' hideout, it was time to initiate Step 3, which was to place all the kegs around the dock in front of the Reapers' hideout. I knew that it didn't have to place kegs on the sweat spot because from what I gathered during our encounter, there were new Reapers, which meant they didn't know what the sweat spot was. Knowing this, I started to unload the kegs and begin Step 4. This wasn't good. My whole plan was about to be thrown out of the window because I was too much of an idiot to carelessly unload such precious cargo. My only hope now is to be able to get a backspawn and come up with an impromptu plan, which I'm not good at. I spawned in, and to my astonishment, I was able to get a backspawn. I thought to myself, did any of the kegs survive? Surely not, since the last of my luck was just used. And that's when I saw it. My first keg that I unloaded was still sitting there unscathed. My last chance of sinking those Reaper runners. I grabbed the keg and found a spot to hide in until they came up to the shore. I couldn't hide far away from them because if they saw me, they'd easily be able to shoot me down where I stood. I had to be patient. I laid there, and after a few minutes, I finally saw them on the horizon slowly coming towards the Reaper's hideout. Once they got close enough, they anchored right next to the dock, just as I had anticipated. The enemies looked onto the island and saw my mermaid swimming right next to their boat. One crew member hopped off the boat and decided to look for me while the others stayed back and protected the loot. I knew this was my time to strike. It was time to complete the last step. This was no time for hesitation. The plan failed. I respawned, and with vengeance in my eyes, I scurried to the map to look at the distance between my boat and theirs. I could get there in time, I thought to myself. I raised the anchor and beelined straight towards them while hearing in my head the sound of gold hitting the palm of their hands instead of my own. I had no regard for my boat. As Homelander said, I'll lose everything, but then I'll have nothing to lose. Once I got close enough to them, I immediately anchored my boat so that they were in my cannon range. I shot into their broadside as they started to sail away. I countered with 2 chain shots to their masts so that they had nowhere to go. I immediately followed up with blunder bombs so that they would not be able to raise their mast and give me enough time to do some real damage. Shot after shot, I got closer to victory. That's when I heard splashing coming from the side of my boat. An enemy was approaching. The enemy climbed up as I blundered him right to the chest, but he was still standing. I had to kill him, otherwise that meant game over. Once I killed him, I started my last barrage of cannons so that it could cause enough holes for them to be overwhelmed. I quickly then ran to the boat to stop them from repairing the damages so they would sink quicker. One after the other, I slaughtered them where they stood to confirm the sinking of their boat. After I killed them, I went back to my boat to grab more fruit. When I emerged from my lower deck, their boat was being swallowed up by the sea, sealing the victor and the loser of our battle. I'd won. I raised the Reaper flag so that I could grab extra gold from the treasure that came up to the surface. I went to the boat and started harpooning each and every piece of loot on board, taking my sweet time knowing that they wouldn't be coming back anytime soon. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, wow, this guy's a PvP god, how did he get so good? It's because I followed these 5 tips that'll give you the upper hand in every naval battle possible that you're gonna love.